Today is, of course, not only the first day of summer, also the longest day of the year, it is also Father's Day. So the temptation for me was great to inflict on you a series of lame Father's Day jokes, such as, with every day being Mother's Day, why would we even bother? Or for me to continue to embarrass my children, who are all here in full force this morning, but that also gets old. However, recent public events would not allow me to have fun with the first day of summer or the joys of Father's Day. You see, there were three events that resonated very deeply for me, resonated very deeply with the sermon series that we have posted for the duration of the summer, a series that deals with the qualities of being a Christian, what it means to be in Christ. What does it say about our identity as children of God, as followers of Christ? And in this vein, for example, last week we talked about how it means that a child of God in Christ is free. It's a quality. It's an aspect of life that we can appreciate, being set free to enjoy life, but also free from the things that could deprecate and hold us back. You see, the definition of identity, according to the dictionary, is that it is the fact of being who or what a person or a thing is. The fact of being who or what a person is. And in this great land of opportunity, in this country that is renowned for its freedom of expression, the question that haunted me this week, precluding me from having fun with the first day of summer and Father's Day, is just how accepting are we, just how much allowance do we make for freedom of expression and freedom for us to embrace an identity. You see, in 1976, we were all celebrating an Olympic medal in the decathlon. And over recent few weeks, when Caitlyn Jenner was presented to the world, just how accepting and supportive and appreciative were we of her accomplishment in 1976 when she was known as William Bruce Jenner. You see, Caitlyn's decision to embrace an identity as a woman was a decision that she made, was an identity that she constructed and that she today celebrates. Rachel Donazel, the head of the local NAACP chapter, was outed by her parents, saying that factually, she's not black. Whereas Rachel proclaimed that that is the identity that she wishes for herself, using those exact words in the interview with Matt Lauer. That regardless of what the factual requirements of being African American might state, she proclaimed herself to have an identity as a woman of God. This past Thursday, 21-year-old Dylan Roof shot 9 people in a Bible study. His factual identity, where he was born, where he was from, who or what he was by his natural birth, secondary to an identity that he assumed, flags that he associated with, a persona that he crafted based on an ideological conviction. That had great consequences. You see, these three incidents, what they have in common is the fact that we do have the ability to craft an identity. We do have opportunity and power to construct for ourselves a persona and an identity regardless of the facts, regardless of things that we might consider to be constraints. You see, on the lighter side, to explain how we can do this successfully is, for example, if you were to go on an online dating site. If you create for yourself a profile on an online dating site, or even on your Facebook, you can project an identity and a world and a life. You can Photoshop images of yourself and make an identity and a person that in actuality may not really exist. You can make an ugly duckling a graceful swan, and many may not even know. On the more serious side, the identities that we embrace, that the associations that we make, are manifested, and so become very revealing of those convictions. And then they come with consequences and great impact. You see, it is particularly critical when, as an individual, I embrace a certain philosophy. Let's take recycling as an example. You see, the true test of whether I truly believe in the preserving of the ecosystem and ecology, if I truly care about being green, is not so much in what I may think about it. It is not so much in how I may talk about it. It comes down to whether I physically actually separate my trash, and in other ways in which I manifest what I believe in. You see, there is a reality aspect that makes my identity not only come into fruition, but that is what consummates or finally constitutes that identity as being in place. Many thousands of years ago, there was an unknown sheep herder, the most menial of tasks in ancient Israel. One of the first to cross this divide, to swim across this Rubicon of defying these natural limitations, these definitions of who or what you are by the facts of who or what you are. His name was David, a simple sheep herder. He was visited by a prophet, and in that moment something huge happened. He was quietly tending his sheep. The moment he became anointed by prophet Samuel, he was given a new identity. And from that moment on, he began walking step by step into bringing that new identity into fruition and into reality. And so the simple sheep herder David became King David. And the story that we read today from the Old Testament is this story, is one of the most defining chapters in his story. And as it is with history, it is important for us to know the background to this story, because the Philistines were the consummate, essential, fundamental enemies of Israel. So the battle that was being set up, the stage on which this battle was to take place between the Israelites and the Philistines, personified the fundamental, essential challenge to the integrity, the identity of what it meant to be the people of God and the Israelites. But here's the danger of us reading the story together, is that you have to give me the promise that you will look beyond just the details of the Sunday school story. You all know the story about David and Goliath and the weaponry and how it ended. We all know that story. But there is more to the story than meets the eye. And that is the connection that you have to make with me now as we read this. You see, on the surface there are certain details. So back to the identity definition, there are certain facts about the story. But it is what lies beyond, deeper, or above the facts that will speak to us today in the lives that we lead. What are the themes and the topics that you can draw from that relate to aspects, challenges, giants in your life? It's from 1 Samuel 17. And we've reprinted that in the bulletin and skipped over some verses which I will fill in. There are 58 verses altogether. We're not going to read all 58 of them, don't worry for us. The Philistines gathered their armies for battle. And there came out from the camp of the Philistines a champion. His name was Goliath from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. That is approximately 9 feet and 9 inches. Verse 5, he had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. The weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze, 126 pounds. He had greaves of bronze on his legs, and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, that is 16 pounds. And his shield bearer went out before him. Goliath was the complete war package. Head to toe, shield bearer in the front. The stage is set. The mortal enemy of Israel sent out a champion to represent the threat to the people of God. And he stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why have you come out to draw up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not servants of Saul?" Saul was, of course, the king of Israel. "Am I not your mortal enemy? Choose a man for yourselves and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants." So instead of heavy bloodshed, all of us getting into the fight, you send one guy, let him fight me. If he's able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and I kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us. This was very well known in ancient times. Those of you that remember reading the Iliad in college will remember these famous battles between Menelaus and Paris, between Hector and Achilles. It comes down to one person personifying good, one person personifying everything that is opposed to the people of God who are good. And the Philistines said, "Today I defy," and this word in Hebrew means scorn, disrespect, in some instances spit on, "the ranks of Israel. Give me a man that we may fight together." When Saul, this is the king, and all of Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. So a challenge is made to the core of the people of God, and the response that is given is one of dismay and fear. Now Saul and they, and this is where we've skipped some verses, the they refer to David's brothers. David was one of 8 brothers. In these few verses preceding this particular verse, there were 3 of his brothers within this army. Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah fighting with the Philistines. David rose early in the morning. He left the sheep with the keeper. He took the provisions and went as Jesse, that is his father, had commanded him. His father Jesse tells David to take a care package to his 3 brothers who are on the front line. David comes to the encampment, and as the army was going forth to the battle line, shouting the war cry, Israel and the Philistines drew up for battle, army against army. David left the things in charge of the keeper of the baggage, ran to the ranks, went and greeted his brothers, and as he talked with them, the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, came up out of the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same words as before. This time David heard him. So now here's where I need you to make that shift. Here's where you need to go beyond the historical scene that is set of 2 armies in a valley, Philistines versus Israelites. Here's where you have the opening, almost like that rabbit hole, for you to go in and try to imagine what would be the kind of army, what would be the kind of representative, what would that representative look like? That would be a challenge to you and what you are about and what is important to you. Because that is the threat. A threat to the integrity and the essence of these, the people of God. David now hears what the people have been listening to for 40 days. For 40 days, Goliath came out and insulted and goaded and provoked the people of God with a challenge, with insult, with disdain, with this threat to their identity. And David then responds, but we pick up in verse 31, when the words that David spoke were heard, they were repeated before Saul, and Saul sent for him. And this is what David, the menial sheepkeeper, says to the king, to King Saul, "Let no one's heart fail because of him, Goliath. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine." And Saul said to David, "You're not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him. You are just a boy." And he has been a warrior from his youth. So the number one citizen, the number one Israelite, the one blessed by God to be the proponent, the leader of the people of God, where is he looking? Where is he looking when he considers this challenge? At the weaponry, at the power, the strength of this warrior, and then comparing that to the lack of all of those things in this proponent of the people of God. But David responds and says to Saul, "Your servant used to keep sheep for his father." Listen to how simple this is. "And whenever a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I went after it and I struck it down, rescuing the lamb from its mouth. And if it turned against me, I would catch it by the jaw, strike it down, and kill it. Your servant has killed both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised, i.e. not part of the people of God, Philistine, shall be like one of them, since he has defied the armies of the living God." And David said, "The Lord, who saved me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, will save me from the hand of this Philistine." For the story to go beyond the novelty and the drama of the setting, this is where each and every one of us, as the leader or the hearer, has to now immediately ask ourselves, when we are faced with challenge, as we are faced with challenge, just what is the strong suit that I go to, that I would rely on to mount my defense and my attack? How does David view this challenge? Does he consider the odds? Does he operate on face value, looking at the facts of the situation, the height, the strength, the weapons? Or is he looking beyond that? Does he walk by sight, or does he walk by his faith? But there is something to me that is even more moving than that. You see, David stays within the things that he knows about. David stays true to who he is and what he has survived. David draws upon the things of the past that he has survived, that he has overcome, that he has battled and that he was victorious against. And from that, he gets this tremendous sense of courage. Maybe that is what people mean when they say to you, when you go through difficulty, that one day you will look back and you will think of it as a good experience. Maybe that is what people mean when they say that every dark cloud has a silver lining, that we can draw from the tragedies of our past, for the strength that it can give us for what we still face and what we have to battle. You see, so maybe the hardships of the past, maybe the things that we have survived from the past are important for us to remember and not to deny and not whitewash. It is maybe embedded in the things that have broken your heart before, by the keys that can unlock the future that may be looming and threatening you today. And so the King Saul says to David, "Go, and may the Lord be with you." So here's the amazing thing to me about this. This is the man, Saul, who before had no consideration, no recollection for the mission that he was given. When he was anointed king, he was told, "You will go out and God will go with you." When this man gets into this battle, a fundamental challenge to who or what he and God's people are about, where does he reach? Where does he go? What does he reach for? Not for his commission or his faith. He looks at the weapons. He looks at the size of the army. He looks at the size of Goliath. He looks at the giant and the odds. And it takes a simple sheep herder to remind him of where his help should come from and where he should look up Tremendous is our power. Tremendous is our power. To remind the people that we live with about the victories of the past, about the promises that God has given each and every one of us. Tremendous is your power as a parent, as a God-parent, to remind your children, your grandchildren, even your friends, of a perspective that goes beyond what the eye can see. Tremendous is the potential, because you may remind them, and so they may remember, and so then they may say all of a sudden, yes, go, and may God go with you. The same God that could have gone with Saul, if only he had remembered. Tremendous is the potential that each and every one of us has as a child of God, to not only ignite and not only inspire, but to bring about change. And so Saul clothed David with his armor. You see, he says, may God go with you, but then he clothes David with his armor. He put a bronze helmet on his head. He clothed him with a coat of mail. And David strapped Saul's sword over the armor, and he tried in vain to walk, for he was not used to them. And then David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these, for I am not used to them. So David removed them. Not his modus operandi, not who he was, not his identity, not his sweet spot, not what he knows best, even though for others that might be the perfect way to prepare himself. No, this boy was congruent and consistent and in line with who or what he is. The wonderful thing of this story is, maybe this is what may speak to you, that all we have to do is just come out with what we are and what we know and where we've been, simple as that may sound. And so each and every one of us, from tending our simple occupations, sheep, can recall the days when we survived the challenges and the manner in which we took on those challenges, and how that victory came not by our own hand, by our deeper awareness that it was the grace of God. Then we survived that. Verse 40, David took his staff, the symbol of his simple sheep trade. He took his staff in his hand. He chose 5 smooth stones from the body. He put them in his shepherd's bag, in the pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So what is that challenge? What is that threat that you perceive sometimes, all the times, or occasionally, to your identity as a child of God? So yesterday I walked into the Short Hills Mall. And as I got to the door, and I opened the door, and held it and stood back to let a woman and a child go in, she was shocked that I would hold the door. And for a moment it looked like she was going to reach for her purse to tip me for holding the door. And I wondered if it is possible that maybe one of the giants that the children of God face is this uncaring, self-obsessed, unconcerned world, culture, reality that we live in. You know, as children of God, we are about love. How often do we find ourselves in a place that is just not love? How often do we find ourselves in a place where even business is transacted in such a cold, harsh, disrespectful manner, but it seems okay? Maybe that is the giant that we face. Maybe that is this army that we feel is simply overwhelming us and all encircling us and completely all around us. And maybe it comes to us this thought that, what can one person really do? You see, here's the wonderful thing about what this shepherd's boy did, was that, yes, it is unnerving to take on a challenge. But you know what he did? He did not outsource it. He did not leave it up to somebody else to do it. He did not rely on the guidance counselor, that's cool, to talk to his children about their future. Did not think that, okay, if I take them to church, the half an hour that the church will have them, the church can teach them about God. That is outsourcing. You see, what did David do? this concern, this threat, this challenge, he engaged it. He engaged it. Hard to do. If the giant in your life, if the threat in your life is your concern about a cold marriage, engaging the giant means to ask that question, do you still love me? As opposed to try to withdraw, look the other way, hope it will go away, hope it will get better. The Philistine came on and drew near to David with his shield bearer in front of him, remember the whole package. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was only a young, ruddy, and handsome in appearance. He was soft. The Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the wild animals of the field. But David said to the Philistine, you come to me with sword and spear and javelin, and I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This very day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the Philistine army this very day to the birds of the air and to the wild animals of the earth, so that all the earth may know that there is a God with a capital G in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord does not save by sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. When David was anointed by the prophet Samuel, he was claimed and he became owned by God. When you were baptized, when you became aware of embracing your identity as a child of God, in whichever manner that may have happened, you too became claimed and you too became owned. And so therefore this identity that you then proclaimed and took on is that of the child of God. And that means that where you then went, you went with God and God went with you. And so you are defined by that reality of God in you and you with God. An identity that overrules your ruddiness, your age, your fallibility. At the core of our identity in Christ are very specific personal qualities, such as trust in God. Not just when the army is small, not just when the giant is a dwarf, when the giant is a giant, and when the army is overwhelming. It is a core quality of my identity as a child of God that I draw upon my faith. It is a core aspect of my identity that I draw from that awareness, putting my trust in God, a certain sense of confidence. Listen to the nerve that David had in addressing a 9 feet 9 inches tall dude. Confident and secure because of who he is in Christ. Owned. God with him and he with God. On our path through life, there are forks in the road. There are choices to make. There are dungeons, and there is danger, and there is disaster. And so we have to choose the basis upon which we want to navigate these dragons and these giants. The children of God rely on the manner in which God rescued them before from the paws of the lion or the bear, and how they survived and scored that victory by the grace of God. So it is in the identity of the children of God to to rely on a faith that is lasting and a God that is living. And that is how we slay the dragon and the giant. And when the Philistine drew nearer to meet David, David ran quickly towards the battle line to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in his bag. He took out a stone, slung it, struck the Philistine on his forehead. And the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell, face down,